Hey guys, I'm here with my very own Honda CR250R that I bought recently to race the 2012 Australian 4-day Enduro down in Warragul. It's obviously a second-hand bike, 5 years old, and you can probably see the rear wheels looking pretty funky down there. The bike, aside from cleaning the mud off it, is exactly as it crossed the finish line of the event. And there's a bit of an interesting story to how I actually got through the event without this rear wheel collapsing. But before I go into that, I'll take you right back to the beginning to show how it got into this condition in the first place and the steps that we went through to ensure I finished the race. This is the last year, the 2007 CR250. Pretty iconic model. It was sort of at the peak of its development. Geometry and frame wise, it's a really well balanced bike, and that's probably the main reason I bought it. It needed a bit of work. First ride on it, I took it out bush and just discovered the whole rear suspension linkage was seized up. So first things first, to get that sorted, I went straight to Ross McWaters. Ross is a guru. He runs McWaters competition developments, and basically there's not much he doesn't know about a dirt bike, and every dirt bike. So it was good to not only have him go through the motions with me on what it needed, but just a general check over. After that, it was straight to Ballard's off-road. You know, Ballard doesn't really need any introduction, and it was cool just to not only get the products that he can supply to the bike, but have him align the bits that were going to suit this thing and what I was trying to do with it. So we started with the seat.
Basically, where a rider sits is a common position for his, let's call it, a neutral area on the bike. Just slightly back from that, we want to chop out of this original foam a piece that we can put on that isn't crazy transition, but just enough that if you've got pressure and you're trying to hold yourself forward, you can feel it. And the challenge is to get it in the right spot. So
where I'm in my neutral position, it's right there. And the other thing I've noticed about the taller seat foam, it's better in the bumpy ruts. When I'm cornering through a bumpy rut, I'm tending not to catch my foot on the ground as much as I usually would.
It's one of those areas that's critical though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's very critical.
You feel like you're on top of the bike, you're in charge more, you're moving it under you instead of...
Exactly. So after Ballard's, it was straight to GHR Honda. I'm with Glenn Hoffman of GHR Honda, and you would have heard of GHR racing for the Australasian Safari. Well, I think you guys have won it how many times now?
We've lost it once in the last 10 years.
Well, there you go. That's a pretty cool statistic. The best thing about Safari is it's one of the ultimate tests of dirt bike products. And over those 10 years of racing and winning Safari, Glenn's homed in on the ultimate products in terms of the toughest products. You check the discs, they're worn, you can get a gauge on how many years the bike's been ridden, and basically the standard discs on the CR250, they need to go in the bin. It's a 5-year-old bike, and we're placing them with, what have we got here, Glenn?
It's a standard size disc in the DBR range. For the Hondas we have your normal original replacement, and then we also have an oversize which we actually use on the fronts of the rally bikes.
Next step was to get the suspension a bit more suited for the bush. I was pretty late going into the 4-day setting it up as it was. I was lucky enough to ride Daniel Milner's YZ450 a few months prior, and it was a stock bike, and Choice Suspension had revalved it for him, and I was just so impressed with how it worked in the bush for a stock motocross bike. So I thought these guys know exactly what they're doing, and whatever setting they were going to throw in the bike, I figured I could just go straight into the race and not have to worry about further testing or setup. The fact that I was doing a story on it for Dirt Action, I had a lot of importers coming to the party in terms of supplying product, which is a great thing.
Even the stepper seat we see here.
Oh no, I've recently put that in. So I need every advantage I can get with this bike because she's a bit of an arm pump machine. I've changed the gearing. I've got the Iron Man sprockets from GHR Honda, along with the dirt bike. These are all GHR Honda products, but it's the dirt bike racing brand that he's selling now. These are just indestructible parts, basically. Ringmaster graphics, so we're going to strip off this junk,
The Geico.
the Geico, and get the Ringmaster Images kit on there. But first of all, I'm going to put the new plastics on. Polysport plastics. So I've still got a bit of work ahead of me.
Yeah, there's a fair bit going on.
When's the 4-day start, mate? Next week?
What do we prologue on Tuesday?
Yeah, so I got a bit of all the tyres here. Pirelli tyres. Can't go wrong with Pirelli tyres. Another one from Ballard's Off-Road, the Linswood Moose. So running Moose, front and rear. Got to do it, not interested in flat tyres. When you're piecing it together last minute, you're at the mercy of the postal service basically, and it came right down to the wire. Like the day of scrutineering, I was still picking up parts that were coming in, and you know, that's just the nature of how it works. What are we running on day one? Come on, mate. What's it going to be?
The Reed replica.
The Reed replica on day
We're
one.
running that.
The Shift Reed replica. Let's actually just bust it out and have it. As it turned out, everything for the bike came, including parts from Honda, but the most vital parts that didn't show up were the spoke set that I ordered for the rear wheel. Because it's a 5-year-old bike, all the spokes and nipples were seized, so I couldn't really put any tension on them. I was forced to start the event basically with a rear wheel that wasn't ideal going into a 4-day enduro. Only 80% of the spokes and nipples were actually tight. The last 20% were just seized and they had no threads left in them, and some were even spinning in the hub and the rim. So knowing that throughout the event,